Welcome to Science Store online classes.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Welcome to all my dear students. Today I am taking biology class, and that we are studying the cell unit of life. Okay, last class we have studied about the remaining endomembrane system, that is Golgi complex, the function of Golgi complex, vacuoles, and we have studied about the lysosomes. Okay, in this class we have studying the separate organelles which is not included in the endomembrane system, that is mitochondria. Okay, the mitochondria, usually this mitochondria is not clearly observed under the electronic under the microscope, which we cannot clearly distinguish because it need a specialized staining technology. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಸ್ಟೈನಿಂಗ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಬೇಕಿರ್ತದೆ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೈನ್ಸ್. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸ್ಟೈನಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾಗೆ ನಾವು ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಹಾಗೆ ಯುಕ್ಯಾರಿಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸ್ಟೈನ್ಸನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸ್ಯಾಫ್ರನಿನ್, ಮಿಥಿಲಿನ್ ಬ್ಲೂ, ಓಕೆ, ಕಾಟನ್ ಬ್ಲೂ, ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟೈನ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಯೂಶಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾ ವಿಲ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ ಸ್ಟೈನಿಂಗ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕ್, we cannot observe under the microscope easily. Okay, so here usually the number of mitochondria per cell is variable. The number of the mitochondria, there are in few cells the number of the mitochondria is very less, in few cells the number of mitochondria is very more. Okay, the large number of mitochondria we can see, that is mainly based on the physiological activity. Is based on physiological activity of cell. As the physiologically the cell show very high rate of physiological activity, in that cell we can see the large number of mitochondria. ಯಾವಾಗ ಸೆಲ್ ತುಂಬ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ಫಿಸಿಯೋಲಾಜಿಕಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಫಂಕ್ಷನನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸ್ತದೆ, ಅಂತಹ ಸೆಲ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾ ನಂಬರ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ವೆನ್ ದೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್, ಓಕೆ, ವೇರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ವೆರಿ ಲೆಸ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾ. ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಈ ಮೆರಿಸ್ಟಮ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಸೆಲ್, ಡಿವೈಡಿಂಗ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬೇಕಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂತಹ cells alli we can see large number of mitochondria. When there is a matured cell which is not taking part in any active physiological function, there we can see very less number of mitochondria. Even the size and shape also vary. Shape of mitochondria also vary from one cell to another. That is also depending on the activity of the cell activity basis alli the size and shape of the mitochondria is also vary. Usually the size, the typical size of the mitochondria is sausage shape. ಸಾಸೇಜ್ ನೋಡಿದಿರಲ್ಲ, ಇಂಥ ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೀಟನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾಶ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು ಉದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಸಾಸೇಜಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇನ್ ಫಾರಿನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಸಾಸೇಜಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇದು ಎಂಥ ಹಾಟ್ ಡಾಗ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಟೂ ಬ್ರೆಡ್ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಈ ಹಾಟ್ ಡಾಗ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಆಗ ಸಾಸೇಜ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯೂಶ್ವಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾ ವಿಲ್ ಲುಕ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಅ ಸಾಸೇಜ್ ಆರ್ ಸಿಲಿಂಡ್ರಿಕಲ್ ಶೇಪ್. ಸಾಸೇಜ್ ಅಥವಾ ಸಿಲಿಂಡ್ರಿಕಲ್ ಶೇಪಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದ diameter varies between, the diameter of the mitochondria varies between 0.2 to 1 micrometer. The diameter is about 0.2 to 1 micrometer diameter, and the length, this is a diameter, the length is about 1 to 4.1 micrometer. The length of the mitochondria is in between 1 to 4. 0.1 micrometer. Okay, usually average on the 0.5 micrometer diameter ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತದೆ average mitochondria. So usually in inactive cells or the less active cells you can see a very less diameters, the size of or the shape of the mitochondria is very less. Okay, so in higher show more activity, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಶುವಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸೈಜ್ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸೈಜ್ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾ ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಯೂಶುವಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾ ಇಸ್ ಔಟರ್ಲಿ ಕವರ್ಡ್ ಬೈ 2 membrane. They are outerly covered by double membrane. This mitochondria is usually covered by double membrane. Okay, it is outerly covered by double membrane. The outer membrane, that 2 membrane will call it as outer covering, will call it as outer membrane. Okay, this outer covering will call it as outer membrane. And one more membrane present inside to this outer membrane, that will call it as inner membrane. This is inner membrane. Okay, this is inner membrane. This is inner membrane. Here usually this lumen, the membrane dividing its lumen, the central portion will call it as lumen. This inner and outer membrane will divide inner lumen region or aqueous fluid containing region ಅನ್ನ 2 compartment ಆಗಿ divide ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. inner membrane ಉಂಟಲ್ಲ, outer membrane which form this mitochondrial structure, outer membrane, they are continuous. We cannot see any disruption or any foldings ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ outer membrane, they are continuous. And inner membrane, this 2 membrane system will convert, they will divide the inner lumen into 2 compartments, 2 compartment ಆಗಿ divide ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. This outer in between outer and inner membrane, that compartment will call it as intermembrane, that will call it as intermembrane space. That space will call it as intermembrane space, the space between outer and inner membrane. And outer ಮತ್ತೆ inner membrane ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಗೆ ನಾವು intermembrane space ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. that compartment, ಆ compartment ಗೆ will call it as intermembrane space. This is very important while studying the respiration study ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ನೆನಪು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. So inside to the inner membrane, that medium, that compartment will call it as matrix. Fluid containing large space, a large compartment is called as matrix. Okay, adana matrix anta helteve. So here this inner membrane will form, here outer membrane is continuous but inner membrane will form a large number of infoldings towards the matrix region ಗೆ ಅದು infoldings ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. So finger like projection ಅನ್ನ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. These are called as infoldings or finger like projection towards the matrix region. That finger like projection or the infoldings are called as cristae. infoldings ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು cristae ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. cristae. Okay, cristae is a plural, crista is a singular. crista singular, cristae andre many cristae. Okay, many cristae will together called as cristae. And single cristae, this single will call it as crista, singular crista. So these infoldings is very important. These 2 membrane which contain large number of enzymes, they contain large number of membranes, specific enzymes are present in each membrane. Specific enzymes are present in each membrane system which is important for the mitochondrial activity. Mitochondrial activity ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂತಹ ಎಂಜೈಮ್ ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲಿರ್ತದೆ ಈ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ನೆನಪು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ದ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ಸ್ ಏನು ದ ಮೇನ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಈಸ್ they are having different types of the enzymes are nothing but biocatalyzers which activates or which mediate the biochemical reaction ಅನ್ನ mediate ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಈ ಎಂಜೈಮ್. ಆ ಎಂಜೈಮ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಈ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. and inside the matrix you can see a small single double stranded DNA, small circular DNA is present, and also it contains ribosomes. They also contain, it contains cristae, and it contains single circular DNA. Single circular DNA contains ribosomes. Contain ribosomes, okay, which is necessary for the protein synthesis. Protein synthesis ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಸ್ತುಗಳು single circular DNA, ribosome, RNA, these are present inside the matrix region. So they are able to produce their own proteins. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂತಹ proteins ಅನ್ನ ಅದೇ ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ DNA ಉಂಟು, ರೈಬೋಸೋಮ್ ಉಂಟು. So that is more than enough for the protein synthesis. ಇದು ಕಾಪಿ ಮಾಡಿ RNA mRNA ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. mRNA ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೈಬೋಸೋಮ್ ಕಾಪಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. So here this mitochondria is main site of aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? Respiration with the presence of oxygen. Okay, oxygen. By the presence of oxygen, the respiration takes place. That process will call it as aerobic respiration. Anaerobic andre in the absence of oxygen. So here in mitochondria, it is a site for aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಂತಹ important site ಯಾವುದು? Mitochondria. Here this mitochondria is also produced because of the aerobic respiration taking place inside the mitochondria. The energy will be released. Energy is released inside the mitochondria. ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ in the form of ATP. The energy is released in the form of ATP. Okay, so that's why this mitochondria is also called as powerhouse of cell. Mitochondria is also called as powerhouse of the cell. ಯಾಕೆ powerhouse ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು? Because it is a site of aerobic respiration. Because of the aerobic respiration, the energy is released. That energy is released in the form of ATP. Usually ಯಾವುದೇ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಗಾನಿಸಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಯಾವ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ? ATP ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. So ATP is nothing but adenine triphosphate. Okay, adenine triphosphate is nothing but the ATP. This ATP, which is a energy rich compound, when it breaks it releases the energy. Okay, ಈ chemical components, ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಪ್ಯಾಕೆಟ್, ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಂಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಪ್ಯಾಕೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಫುಡ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಹಾಗೆ ATP whenever there is requirement ATP ಇಂದ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾನ ಪವರ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೆಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದ ಮೇನ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾ ಈಸ್ ಟು ರಿಲೀಸ್ ದ ಎನರ್ಜಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಏರೋಬಿಕ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಸೈಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಫಾರ್ ಪವರ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೆಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ they contain all the required protein synthesis. It also takes place the protein synthesis because of the presence of circular DNA, single DNA, ribosome ಮತ್ತು proteins. Ribosome usually 70S type of ribosome. ಈ prokaryotic ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲ ಅದೇ ಟೈಪ್ ಇದು ribosomes ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಮೈಟೊಕಾಂಡ್ರಿಯಾದೊಳಗೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. So this is a site of protein synthesis. This is a site of protein synthesis. One more important function of mitochondria is protein synthesis. So, and also the other organelles will not show, but mitochondria divide by fission. By fission reaction, you can see the division of the mitochondria. The number of mitochondria increases in a cell by the fission. Okay, by divide by fission. Okay, fission ಆಗಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಫಿಷನ್ ಆಗ್ತದಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಎರಡು ಆಗುವ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫಿಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಒಂದರಿಂದ from 1 2 cells are produced, this or from one chemical to chemical produce, ಈ process ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು fission ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. So usually the mitochondria multiply by fission method. Fission ಆಗಿ multiply ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. Okay, next we'll see the next. Okay, this is the structure of mitochondria, 3D structure of the mitochondria. You can see the structure of mitochondria ಹೇಗಿರ್ತದೆ. So this is a 3D structure. outer ಆಗಿ ಹೀಗೆ ಕಾಣ್ತದೆ. So if you go for inner structure, you can see this is the outer membrane, continuous outer membrane, and also you can see the infolding. This white color portion is inner membrane. ಇದು inner membrane ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. So you can see the infoldings. ಈ ಇನ್ಫೋಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಫೋಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಫಿಂಗರ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಷನ್, ವಿಲ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಕ್ಸ್ ಪೋರ್ಷನ್. ಈ ರೀಜನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇಂಟರ್ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಇಂಟರ್ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಕ್ಸ್. ಪಿಂಕ್ ಕಲರ್ ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಸಿ ಆನ್ ದ ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಟೆನ್ನಿಸ್ ರಾಕೆಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್. Next, we'll move to the one more organelle, important organelle, that is plastids. One more important organelle, that is plastids. Usually, the pigment containing organelles are generally called as plastids. Okay, usually these plastids are found in plants as well as in euglenoids. Plants and euglenoids, which comes under protista, and all the plant cells contain plastids as well as euglenoids, which contain plastids. Okay, they are containing plastids. Okay, next we'll move to the one more important that is these plastids can be easily observed under the microscope. Okay, here because there is no staining, definite staining method is not required for the study of the plastid, because itself it contains a colored pigments. Okay, plastid alli ade colored pigments anna hondirudrinda adakke yavade staining ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. itself we can clearly observe under the microscope. Here the plastid which contain different kinds of the pigments. Okay, they bear specific pigments and thus imparting a definite color to the plant cell. Plants as well as plant cell which show definite color because of the presence of plastids with the definite pigments. Okay, usually yadu green color ige chlorophyll pigment, red color yellow color, orange yellow color ige xanthophyll pigment, orange color ige carotenoid pigments, purple color ige phycoerythrin pigments. So hige bere pigments ide. So based on the concentration of this pigment, that will impart different coloration to the plants as well as plant cell. Plant cell ige ಅದರದ್ದೇ ಆದ ಕಲರ್ಸ್. ಕ್ರೋಟಾನ್ ಗಿಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಬೇರೆ ಕಲರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಕ್ರೋಟಾನ್ ಗಿಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಲೀಫ್ ಬೇರೆ ಕಲರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೇನ್ಲಿ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಡ್. ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಡ್, different kinds of the pigments in a plastid. Okay, it contains pigments which impart color. colored to plants, which impart definite color or different types of colors to the plants. Okay, and based on the colors, based on the pigment present in the cell, pigment present in the organelle, there are mainly three types of plastid, that is chloroplast, chromoplast and leukoplast. These are the three different types of the plastid. Yavudella? Chloroplast, chromoplast and leukoplast. Usually the chloroplast usually contain pigments like, contain chlorophyll. Mainly it contains chlorophyll pigment. ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರುತ್ತದೆ. In addition to that, you can also see some carotenoids. It also contains some carotenoids pigments. Okay, that will give green coloration to the plant cell. Most this chloroplast, this mainly present in mesophyll cell of the plant cell. Plant cell alli elli chloroplast ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, mesophyll cells alli ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. In chromoplast, usually it contain fat soluble carotenoids pigments. Fat soluble carotenoids pigment like xanthophyll, keratin, xanthophyll and other pigments are present in chromoplast. So ಈ chromoplast ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು fat soluble carotenoids ಇರ್ತದೆ. Fat soluble carotenoids present. Okay, fat soluble carotenoids present, and under that different types of the carotenoid pigments are keratin, xanthophyll and other pigments which are present in chromoplast, that usually give yellow, orange and red coloration to the cells. That will impart yellow, orange, red coloration to the cell as well as to the plants. Plant ಗೆ yellow ಅಥವಾ orange ಅಥವಾ red color in the plants or in a part of plants, that is because of the chromoplast. Chromoplast ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು plant parts ಗಳು ಉಂಟಲ್ಲ, red, orange, usually carrots, it is a taproot system ಅಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವ ಕಲರ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ? ಆರೆಂಜ್ ಕಲರ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಿಚ್ ಕೆರೋಟಿನ್ ಪಿಗ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ದ ಆರೆಂಜ್ ಕಲರ್. yellow, some of the fruits as well as some of the parts of the plants will look like a yellow. That is because of the presence of xanthophyll, high concentration of the xanthophyll pigments. Okay, that is mainly because, and the main important function of the chloroplast is they trap the light energy. They will trap the light energy, and that trapped light energy later converted into chemical energy. Light energy ಅನ್ನ chemical trap ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಲೈಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಲೇಟರ್ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಬೈ ದ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೋಟೋಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್. ಅಂಡ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ type of plastid is leukoplast. These are nothing but colorless plastid. Colorless plastids are also called as leukoplast. Usually these plastids store food material. Okay, they store food material. Based on the food material, they further classified into different types. Leukoplast ಯಾವ ಫುಡ್ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದೆ ಅದರ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ತರಹದ leukoplast ಇದೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ amyloplast. It is a type of leukoplast, colorless plastids. Okay, colorless plastids. Okay, amyloplast which store carbohydrate. which especially store carbohydrate like starch. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಚ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಯೂಶಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬೋಹೈಡ್ರೇಟ್ ಕಂಟೈನಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಅಮೈಲೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಚ್, it is a type of carbohydrate can be stored inside the specialized structure that is leukoplast. ಅದನ್ನ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, amyloplast ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Example, you can see this type of white colored or the white colored patches in a cell, amyloplast ಇರ್ತದೆ. Example in potatoes ಅಲ್ಲ, ಪೊಟ್ಯಾಟೋಸ್ ಸ್ಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲ್ಸಿ ವೈಟ್ ಕಲರೇಷನ್, ಒಂಥರ ಕ್ರೀಮಿಶ್ ಕಲರ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫುಡ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್, ಕಾರ್ಬೋಹೈಡ್ರೇಟ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲೈಸ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಅಮೈಲೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲಿಯೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್. ELAIO Ilioplast. Okay, it is a type of plastic which store oil and fat. That will store oil and fat as a reserve food material. Reserve food material anna oil and fat store ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಅಂತಹ plastics ಅನ್ನ we'll call it as Ilioplast. Okay, we'll call it as Ilioplast. Okay, usually oil yielding plants ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ Ilioplast ಅನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. Next one more type of the plastic is leukoplast is Chloroplast. That will mainly store protein content. Here in Chloroplast alli ಏನಿರ್ತದೆ, protein is in the form of reserve food material ಆಗಿ proteins ಅನ್ನ ಅದು ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. So these are the three main types of the leukoplast. Okay, leukoplast ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, colorless plastid which do not impart any pigments ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. that will not give any coloration, color ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ based on the food materials, which type of the reserve food material is stored. Based on that, further three types are there: amyloplast, Ilioplast and Chloroplast. Okay, ಈ amyloplast ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬೋಹೈಡ್ರೇಟ್ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಫುಡ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. Ilioplast ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫ್ಯಾಟ್ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಫುಡ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. Chloroplast ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ಸ್ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಫುಡ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ತ್ರೀ ಮೇನ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟಿಡ್. ಯಾವುದು? ಕ್ಲೋರೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್, ಸ್ಟ್ರೋಮೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್, ಲ್ಯೂಕೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್, ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಪಿಗ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. Okay, based on the pigmentation and without pigmentation, they are classified into three main types. Okay, next we'll move to the important, the structure of the chloroplast. Important plastid, that is chloroplast, especially present in plant cell ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತಹ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲೋರೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡುವ. ಓಕೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಮೂವ್ ಟು ದ chloroplast. Chloroplast, it is a important type of plastid present in plant cell alli hondiruvanthaddu plastid. Here the number of the plastid vary from different types of the cells, where depending on the organism the number of the chloroplast varies. In Chlamydomonas, which is a type of algae, in Chlamydomonas each cell contains one chloroplast. It is a type of algae. In this type of algae, you can see each cell contains only one chloroplast, but in mesophyll cell, it is a type of cell in higher plants. It is a type of plant cell in higher plants. Okay, higher plants alli mesophyll cell ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತದೆ. So ಈ mesophyll cell ಅಲ್ಲಿ 20 to 40. The number of chloroplast is about 20 to 40. The number of chloroplast is about 20 to 40 ಅಷ್ಟು chloroplast ಅನ್ನ ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತದೆ. Okay, that is mainly the distribution, the number of the chloroplast is depending on the type of the cell. Okay, type of the cell alli ಆ basis alli the chloroplast number also varies. Okay, next we'll move to the elaborated structure of the chloroplast. Chloroplast is the structure ana study ಮಾಡುವ. Next we'll study the structure of the chloroplast. Okay, usually the structure of chloroplast mainly contain two main parts. The size, okay, before that we can see different shape of the chloroplast. Sometimes I have explained while explaining the algae alli chloroplast explain ಮಾಡುವಾಗ different types of different shapes of chloroplast ಅನ್ನು explain ಮಾಡಿದೆ. This may be spherical or it may be disc shaped. Okay, sometimes it may be ribbon shaped. You can see ribbon shaped chloroplast, and sometimes you can see them oval shaped. Okay, oval shape alli irtade. Sometimes oval shape, spherical shape, lens shape. Okay, lens shape alli sa irtade. You can see different shape of the chloroplast, and also size of the chloroplast varies. The size of the chloroplast also varies. Usually depending on the cell, the size is about between 2 to the length is about 5 to 10 micrometer. 5 to 10 micrometer length of chloroplast, and the diameter of the chloroplast, width of the chloroplast or the diameter of the chloroplast is 2 to 4 micrometer. Width of the chloroplast, usually the width is about 2 to 4 micrometers. Okay, here the mainly the size, the shape of the chloroplast or the size of the chloroplast varies. Okay, if next we'll move to the structure, the detailed structure of the chloroplast. Here this chloroplast also contain two membranes. They contain two membranes, important two membranes, that is outer membrane. Okay, contain two main membrane system, that is outer membranes. This is outer membrane, and inner to that you can see the inner membrane. Okay, here you cannot see any infoldings in the inner membrane. Inner membrane alli infoldings irudilla. So these are two membranes. Outer membrane and inner membrane. Inside that you can see the fluid containing region. This fluid containing region is called as stroma. Okay, in between the two outer and inner membrane you can see the intermembrane space. Okay, in between outer and in the inner membrane you can see the intermembrane space, and also inside the fluid containing region there we'll call it as a matrix. Here will mitochondria dalli matrix anta heltare, illi stroma anta heltare. In stroma is nothing but a fluid part of the chloroplast. Okay, inside this chloroplast you can see here disc shaped structure, disc shaped membranous structure, which is present one above the other. They are attached, they are arranged one above the other like stacks. Okay, they are arranged in stacks like a piles of coin. ಕಾಯಿನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ನೀವು ಒಂದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಇಟ್ಟರೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಕಾಣ್ತದೆ ಸಲ ಹೀಗೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಯೂಶಲಿ ಕಾಯಿನ್ಸ್ ಒಂದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಕಾಣ್ತದಲ್ಲ. The same way you can see like the structure inside the chloroplast. Each this disc shaped structure, each disc shaped structure is called as thylakoids. Idanna we'll call it as thylakoids. Each of this membranous structure is called as thylakoids. ಓಕೆ, ಈ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರನ್ನು ಥೈಲಕಾಯ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ದೇ ಆರ್ arranged like a stacks, they are arranged in stacks like a piles of coin. ಅಂದರೆ ಪೈಲ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಕಾಯಿನ್ ಇದು ಪೈಲ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಕಾಣ್ತದೆ, if you place a coin one above the other, same way here thylakoids are placed one above the other like a stacks, and each of this structure is called as granum. Granum is singular, grana is plural. Many of these stacks are together called as grana. Granum is singular. Each stacks of thylakoids are called as granum. Okay, ಒಂದೊಂದನ್ನು ಗ್ರಾನಮ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. Together it is called as grana. Okay, grana ಅಂದರೆ the stacks of thylakoids, where here the membranous system which is arranged one above the other and form a compact structure, that will call it as grana. Okay, there is a connection between the two different thylakoids ಮಧ್ವೆ ಗ್ರಾನಮ್ ಥೈಲಕಾಯ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತದಲ್ಲ, ಗ್ರಾನಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಾನಮ್ ಥೈಲಕಾಯ್ಡ್ ಇಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಗ್ರಾನಮ್ ಥೈಲಕಾಯ್ಡ್ಗೆ you can find the connection. This connection is called as stroma lamellae. This connection will call it as stroma lamellae. Very important. ಈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ನೆನಪಿಡಬೇಕು. while studying the photosynthesis you have to remember all this structure, thylakoid, stroma lamellae ಎಲ್ಲದ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೀವು ಕಲಿಬೇಕು. so the thylakoids, okay, intergranal thylakoids. Okay, here this membrane you can see this is also called as intergranal thylakoids. It is also called as grana or intergranal thylakoids. ಈ grana ಅನ್ನ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ intergranal thylakoids. Here the grana is also called as intergranal thylakoids. Grana na intergranal thylakoids anta heli sa heltare. The other name of the grana. Okay, here in addition to that flat membranous tubules, you can see flat membranous tubules which connect the two different thylakoids, that connects the thylakoids of different grana. ಥೈಲಕಾಯ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಎರಡು ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಗ್ರಾನದ್ದು ಥೈಲಕಾಯ್ಡ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಕನೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. that connection tubular structure will call it as stroma lamellae. Okay, here the membranous thylakoid, here it is made up of a thin membrane. Okay, this thin membranous thylakoid will surround the central portion, is called as lumen. Okay, liquid aqueous portion anna it will enclose a space is called as lumen, and here usually this thylakoid which contain enzymes which is important for the photosynthesis. The stroma, lumen, and this here the pigments are usually present on the surface of present along with the membrane system of the thylakoid membranes alli can see the attachment of pigments elli irtade, mainly thylakoids idu membrane alli attach agirtade. yavadu pigments elli irtade in the chloroplast region. In thylakoid you can see the pigments on the membrane system ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ pigments ಎಲ್ಲ attach ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. So these pigments are nothing but the chemical components. They are complex chemical compounds which is present along with the membrane system. Here stroma contain different types of the enzymes. They contain different types of enzymes which is required for the photosynthesis, for the synthesis of carbohydrate and protein ಮತ್ತೆ carbohydrate ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗುವಂತಹ ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗುವಂತಹ ಎಂಜೈಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತದೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಸೈಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೋಟೋಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇನ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಲೈಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಯಾವ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಯೂಶಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬೋಹೈಡ್ರೇಟ್ These are nothing but is in the form of carbohydrate. Chemical energy is in the form of carbohydrate. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಆ ಲೈಟ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿಯನ್ನು ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಕಾರ್ಬೋಹೈಡ್ರೇಟ್ ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಕಾರ್ಬೋಹೈಡ್ರೇಟ್ is nothing but the energy rich compound which is also called as chemical energy, which is also called as chemical energy. For the synthesis of that carbohydrate, various types of enzymes required, that is present in stroma region. Okay, stroma region ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. And also in addition to that, you can see the genetic material, they are contain a small double stranded DNA present. Okay, single DNA ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರುತ್ತದೆ. And also it contains ribosomes. They also contain ribosomes. So because of the presence of independent DNA and ribosome, usually ribosome is of 70S type. 70S type of ribosome ಅನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ DNA ಮತ್ತು ರೈಬೋಸೋಮ್ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಇರುವುದರಿಂದ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಅ ಸೈಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್. ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾರ್ಬೋಹೈಡ್ರೇಟ್ ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ಸೈಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಕ್ಲೋರೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್. ಇನ್ ಕ್ಲೋರೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ protein as well as carbohydrate. Okay, here this is a structure of the chloroplast. Chloroplast is the structure. Okay, na helide membrane pigments are usually present in a thylakoid membrane. Okay, stroma regionally enzymes anna hondirtade. Along with the enzymes they also contain DNA, single DNA, small circular single DNA, and also it contain ribosomes. Okay, and inside this the main part is thylakoids, which is arranged in stacks, and each stacks are called as granum. Okay, there is a connection between the each granum, that is between the thylakoids of two different grana. ಎರಡು different grana ಮಧ್ಯೆ thylakoid ಮಧ್ಯೆ connection ಇರ್ತದೆ. that will call it as stroma lamellae. ಅದನ್ನ stroma lamellae ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. So this is a complete structure. It is outerly covered by two membrane system, outer ಮತ್ತೆ inner membrane ಇಂದ cover ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. This is a detailed and complete structure of the chloroplast. Okay, here the elaborated function or important function of chloroplast will study in photosynthesis chapter. ಏನು ಇದರ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್, ಹೇಗೆ photosynthesis ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು photosynthesis chapter ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲಿತೇವೆ. Okay, thank you all my dear students. I'll continue in the next class.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.